What else? I was asked about defining democracy. Well, it's a good question, because just voting is not all it's about. It's only a symbol of it, really. I once worked out, and forgive me if you've heard it before, 5 questions you should put to any powerful person you meet. And the questions are these: what power have you got? Where did you get it from? In whose interest do you exercise it? To whom are you accountable? And how can we get rid of you? And if you can't get rid of the people who govern you, they may be brilliant, but it's not a democratic relationship. And although it may sound very negative, the fact is that every member of Parliament knows that unless he satisfies people in his own constituency, enough will vote against him and he loses his job and his seat and everything. And that is a very, very powerful influence. Don't underestimate it at all. It may sound negative, but it isn't negative. It means that people can withdraw their labour and punish a government they don't agree with. And I think that's something that matters. Otherwise, if you look about democracy, well, I'm a great believer in industrial democracy and workers' control. I think that people should have far greater say over the corporations for which they work. Keir Hardie once said 100-odd years ago, we've won political democracy, now we need industrial democracy. And I think that information, the spread of information, freedom of information is a very powerful weapon. If you take this recent case that came through the press about members of Parliament abusing their privileges, quite apart from the horror of what was going on, as soon as it got into the public domain, MPs began paying back money that they had received. And I think the publicity is a very powerful disinfectant. And I think we need far more publicity about how government works. I was thinking the other day, why couldn't we should have a press representative in the Cabinet reporting what was said at the Cabinet? Because the Cabinet discussions, the ones I attended, were always absolutely rivetingly interesting. And I think this idea that the pretense that if you elect a government, everyone in the Cabinet is unanimously takes the same view is nonsense. And if you knew there were people in the Cabinet who took your view or something like your view, it would, I think, restore a lot of confidence in government. And I think these are things we should be thinking about. Remembering that Hansard, you know, is the name attached to the publication of parliamentary debates, when Hansard began publishing parliamentary debates, he was imprisoned because MPs didn't want the public to know what they were saying in Parliament. And I think that's an important element. And I also think the use of the web and the development of the new technical media can play a very significant part in developing democracy. Can MPs control capitalism, overthrow capitalism? Well, the answer is they can't. But I think that if they support the good causes and give genuine backing to these campaigns, they can change it fundamentally. Now, somebody asked about the Obama campaign. Well, I think what was interesting to me about the Obama campaign was that the slogan was, yes, we can. It wasn't, yes, I can, vote for me and I'll do it for you, because I never believed leaders do anything for you of that kind. He said, if we come up with good ideas, we can do it, we can do it. And therefore, Obama built up a movement which will support him if he does what he said he'd do, and if he doesn't, he'll find himself challenging the people who put him there, and that will be some correction. So I think that's significant. Now, on Cuba, I don't know how Cuba will develop. But of course, Cuba is blockaded by the United States. It's had a hideous experience from Washington over the years. And I think when you have a little bit of peace and freedom, then these demands for democracy are likely to grow. There was a program on television last year which I watched with great interest from China. I don't know if anyone saw it. It was about a school in China that decided to have an election for its school monitors. And this was a primary school, and there were the candidates discussing how to brains. These were 7- and 8-year-olds. And it was an absolutely perfect example of the parliamentary system. And I thought to myself, if those children can debate and elect a school monitor in this particular school, because it was a real case, then later on in life they might say, why can't we now elect the government and have some say in how it's done? There's also a question about referenda. Well, I think any constitutional question must be put in referendum, because in a democracy, the people who are sovereign are not Parliament, but the people. The people are sovereign, and they lend their sovereign power to Parliament to pass laws. But if any institutional change is made which erodes or changes the sovereignty of the people, as in the Lisbon Treaty, then I think there's no doubt whatever that has to be put to the public to decide. Now, religion and progress. Well, it's interesting because, I don't know if you'll agree with me, but I've come to the conclusion that all political decisions are really, at heart, moral decisions. Is it right or not? You can argue about what's right or wrong, that's an interesting argument, but this idea that watching the FTSE and the Dow Jones average provides all you need to know about how to make up your mind on policies, I think a complete misunderstanding. War and killing people is a moral question. Social justice raises moral questions. Full employment, housing are moral questions, and we can learn from those who have taught the importance of morality through religion and in other ways. I think that probably I've covered almost everything. If I've left somebody out, forgive me. And I think I've said something about all the points made. But if you want to go on, I'm retired. I mean, I've got nothing to do.